Have you ever found yourself caught in a cycle where your worries spiral into something much bigger than they originally were? You know what I mean, right? It's like you start off feeling a little anxious about something, and before you know it, you're knee-deep in a swamp of overthinking, guilt, and sadness. You're not alone in this. It's a common experience that many of us face. In fact, there's a term for it: the feedback loop from hell. It sounds dramatic, doesn't it? But it's a fitting description for that relentless cycle where one negative thought leads to another, and suddenly you're trapped in a mental maze with no exit in sight. This concept was popularized by Mark Manson in his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's an eye-opening read, and I highly recommend it if you're looking to get a better grasp on why we sometimes feel like we're drowning in our emotions. The feedback loop starts innocently enough. You feel anxious about a presentation at work, and that anxiety leads to self-doubt. Then, you start worrying about how your self-doubt will affect your performance, and before you know it, you're spiraling. You feel guilty for feeling anxious in the first place, and that guilt compounds your anxiety, creating a vicious cycle that can be incredibly hard to break. I can't tell you how many times I found myself in this loop. I'll be lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and I'll start to think about something that happened earlier in the day. Maybe I said something awkward to a coworker, or I forgot to respond to a friend's text. Suddenly, I'm consumed by thoughts of how I might have embarrassed myself, and that leads to a flood of self-criticism. Why do I always do this? I'll think. I can't believe I let myself get so worked up over something so trivial. And then, just like that, I'm feeling guilty for feeling anxious, and the cycle continues. The worst part is that it can feel isolating. You might think, why can't I just get over this? Or why can't I handle my emotions better? It's easy to feel like you're the only one who struggles with this kind of mental gymnastics. But I promise you, you're not. Naming it, acknowledging that it's a real thing, can be a powerful step in breaking free from the loop. Once you recognize that you're caught in the feedback loop from hell, it becomes easier to take a step back and assess the situation. So how do we escape this seemingly endless cycle? The first step is acceptance. I know. Acceptance sounds like one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around in self-help circles, but hear me out. Acceptance doesn't mean you have to like what you're feeling. It simply means acknowledging that it's there. It's about saying to yourself, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now, and that's okay. It takes practice, and it definitely takes patience. We live in a culture that constantly pushes us to strive for happiness and perfection, but the reality is that feeling anxious or sad is part of being human. One method that has helped me immensely is meditation. I know, it sounds a little cliche, but hear me out. Meditation is like hitting the reset button on your brain. It gives you a moment of stillness to observe your thoughts without judgment. When I meditate, I try to focus on my breath. Inhale, exhale. It sounds simple, but focusing on your breath can help ground you in the present moment, pulling you out of the feedback loop. Instead of getting swept away by your thoughts, you learn to observe them as they come and go. It's a practice that requires consistency, but the benefits are profound. It teaches you that thoughts are just thoughts. They don't have to define your reality. Breathing exercises can also be incredibly effective. Whenever I feel anxiety creeping in, I take a few moments to practice deep breathing. I inhale deeply through my nose, hold it for a few seconds, and then exhale slowly through my mouth. This simple act can shift your body's response to stress and help you regain a sense of control. It's amazing how something as basic as breathing can have such a powerful effect on your mental state. Now, let's talk about some practical activities that can help break the cycle. One of my personal favorites is cooking. You might be wondering, cooking? Really? But hear me out. Cooking requires focus and attention, which can be a great way to pull yourself out of your head. When you're chopping vegetables or stirring a pot, you're forced to be present in the moment. It's a mindfulness exercise that can help clear your mind and provide a sense of accomplishment. Plus, you get to enjoy a delicious meal at the end of it. It's a win-win situation. Journaling is another fantastic tool for combating the feedback loop. There's something incredibly cathartic about putting pen to paper and articulating your thoughts and emotions. When you write down what you're feeling, it helps to bring clarity to your mind. You can look back at what you've written and see patterns in your thoughts, which can be illuminating. It's a way to process your feelings without getting lost in them. Sometimes, just getting your thoughts out of your head and onto the page can provide a sense of relief. I want to emphasize that these methods aren't one-size-fits-all solutions. Everyone's journey is different, and what works for one person might not work for another. It's all about finding what resonates with you and incorporating it into your life. I've been experimenting with these techniques for a while now, and while I still find myself slipping into the feedback loop from hell occasionally, I've learned to recognize it more quickly. The key is to be gentle with yourself. Change takes time, and it's okay to have setbacks along the way. One thing I've learned is that sharing your experiences can be incredibly powerful. When I started talking about my struggles with anxiety and the feedback loop, I was surprised by how many people could relate. It's like we're all walking around with these invisible burdens, thinking we're alone in our struggles. But the truth is, we're all in this together. By opening up about our experiences, we create a sense of community and support. It's a reminder that we're not alone, and that can be a comforting thought. As I continue on this journey, I remind myself that it's a work in progress. I don't have all the answers, and I'm still learning how to navigate the complexities of my emotions. But I've found solace in knowing that I'm not alone in this struggle. The feedback loop from hell may feel overwhelming at times, but it's important to remember that it's just one part of our experience. We have the power to break free from it, to redefine our relationship with our thoughts and emotions. So the next time you find yourself caught in that loop, take a deep breath. Acknowledge what you're feeling without judgment. Explore different techniques that resonate with you, whether it's meditation, cooking, journaling, or something entirely different. It's okay to seek help, to reach out to friends or professionals who can provide support. Remember, you're not alone in this. We're all in this together, navigating the ups and downs of life, one breath at a time. Embrace the journey and know that you have the strength to break free from the feedback loop from hell.